We are slaying monsters.
Don't let the ghosts and the ghouls disturb you, darling.
Matt, you're a tosher. You're such a tosher. I don't know, I just like that insult.
Tosh.
I feel like I've heard that. Is that actually, maybe I'm completely pulling this out of my butt, but I feel like I've heard that as like a British insult, like calling someone a tosher.
No,
Maybe tosser?
No,
tosser.
Tosh comes from, well, I don't think we actually know where Tosh comes from, but Britishism Tosh is like nonsense, crap, bullshit, whatever.
Oh.
And they think that it was from the Turkish word bosh, which means trash or nonsense.
Interesting.
I wonder if, okay, I'm such an etymology nerd. I wonder if basura, the Spanish word for garbage, is at all connected to the Turkish word for trash.
I don't know.
Okay, now I gotta look that up.
Yeah.
That's
I bet
awesome.
you're not wrong, though.
I don't know. Which has nothing to do with sewer monsters, which is what we are talking about today. Here at Slaying Monsters, we have Maddie J.
Hey.
And we have Katie.
Hi.
And I'm EJ, and I am here to divert the conversation.
To turn it into a bunch of tosh, if you will.
Yes,
The tosh is what makes it great.
it is.
There was also that Tosh 2.0. There was
Yes.
a
Oh my
show.
gosh. I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about it was called that because his last name was Tosh, I'm pretty sure. But then I'm like, is his last name Tosh because he's of English descent and his parents, or like somewhere down his lineage, he had a tosher in his background?
One
don't
could
know.
be so lucky. I mean, there could be some cool treasure in that family.
Hey.
That's what they do.
Yeah, that's what they do. They go looking for it. Yeah, today we're going to talk about the toshers. But before we do that, in our last episode, we talked about how London's cholera epidemic prompted the construction of a new sewer system. Engineered by Joseph Bazalgette, the London sewer was this huge, gigantic project in the mid-19th century. They reinforced the tunnels with interceptor waterways because at that point, most of the sewers were these tiny, tiny little tunnels that were really just used to divert rainwater. And Bazalgette's project stood the test of time, and parts of it are still in use to this day in the London sewer system, the modern London sewer system. Now, the common Londoner at that time, when this system is being implemented, you have this new network of passageways. That's a little bit unnerving. It's an unnerving addition to your city because they're creating this, we keep coming back to this idea of this darker world, this like undercity below your feet. And all of a sudden, you know, the ground, you're walking around dirt, you're walking around cobblestones or something, you know what's under your feet, but suddenly you have no idea what's going on down there. But still, London was improving. You have these new public works, the city is starting to turn the corner into modernity. But that didn't fix other problems, like the obscene wealth gap that still existed, no matter how many toilets we could flush each day. What do you know about the East End, London's East End?
I know the song, East End Boys and West End Girls.
That's right.
I think the East End is more blue collar and West End is more higher class.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know that the East End is cool now.
Is it cool now? Cool.
Yeah, it's like that's where all the cool people live. I mean, it might have been cool like 10 years ago. It might be cool in the way that like the East Village is cool in New York. Like it is cool, but you can't live there anymore because now it's also expensive.
Isn't it fascinating how that shit happens? You know, like I don't know, Bushwick, I guess, right? There's these places in Philly too. Obviously we're from Philly, so we know much better, like the Fishtown neighborhood and stuff like that. Was this place that was just very blue collar, working class, and then all of a sudden homes there cost $500,000, and you're like, what the fuck happened?
Or Passyunk. Is Passyunk like that now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when I was living down on Passyunk, it was like, I mean, I had some deliciously cheap rent. I mean, the houses were not they were not like updated. I was in my 20s, scrappy era, but it was very blue collar. People that lived down there had lived down there for a long time. Their families had lived down there for a long time, but it was like slowly sort of becoming more cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was the funny thing about when I was working over, I actually worked for the Philly people. I worked beyond Fishtown. I worked technically outside of Kensington. But you would have a house that was kind of, like not real well maintained, a little dilapidated, and then there would be this brand new construction. You know exactly the type of like walk up that it is right next to it that they were selling for $450,000, and you could just feel the hate radiating off the person who lived there beside it. London's East End grew up around the docks, near, as we talked about, the polluted River Thames. By the late 1800s, that neighborhood was a population of about 1 million people. And that growing population had a massive impact on things like housing and workforce. There weren't really enough homes to go around, and so people found themselves crowding into these tiny tenement slums. There wasn't enough work for people either, and so employers could pay next to nothing or lay off huge swaths of their workforce only to replace them a day or two later with people that they were paying even less. Things were so bad that children of families were expected to work to help make ends meet for their families. A third of the East End lived in poverty. Meanwhile, you had the aristocracy, the quote-unquote landed gentry, who were developing their own industries. Trade and manufacturing was booming. Finance and banking were growing into these institutions that had never really existed before. And universities started offering education for a population that previously didn't really have that option. It was only for the extremely wealthy. And then you have these businesses, and these businesses need administrators, which opens the door for a brand new class to come in. This class between the nobility and the poverty. A class in the middle, if you will. And to be fair to the aristocracy, a lot of them did want to help lift the poor from their poverty. But it was overwhelming. 1 million people, a third of them in poverty. That's 300,000 people living well below the poverty line? The plight of these citizens was detailed in 1849 when the Morning Chronicle tapped journalist Henry Mayhew to investigate the conditions in London's slums. Now, let's talk about Henry Mayhew because he is a fascinating person, and I'm going to do my best to call him Henry Mayhew and not Peter Mayhew, famed Star Wars actor who was inside the Chewbacca costume. But I'll probably confuse them at least once during this episode.
Okay, so Chewbacca goes down to the slums and takes a look at everything. Okay. Got it.
Henry Mayhew studied at Westminster, but was always rambunctious. He had this humor that drew him to farce, satire, and that didn't really mesh real well with his formal educational environment. And so he attempted to run away from school twice, and finally, under threat of a beating, he just straight up quit Westminster. Because this was back when you still applied corporal punishment to students, right?
And so Westminster is like, it's like high school level. Is that what we're talking about? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's funny, in my head I thought you were talking about college, and I was like, they
Me
beat
too.
their college students.
I was like, wow, he tried to leave, and I was like, but he's a grown-up? Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? What do you mean he tried to leave? Like, what kind of college is this?
Yeah. What is this place?
No. This is like high school age.
Like boarding
Henry
school.
Mayhew.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, boarding school. Yes. Mayhew's father was extremely disappointed that he left, and so he forced him to join the East India Company as a midshipman. Henry Mayhew took a single voyage to India and back, failed to complete his training, and left the shipping industry to his father's continued disappointment. As a last ditch, Joshua Mayhew allowed his son to work at his law firm, which he also fucked up in what the London Vagabond describes as a calamitous way. I don't know what happened. There's no detail as to what happened, but apparently it was calamitous.
My immediate thought is a lot of money was probably involved.
Yeah. The thing is, he would have had a terrible time there because Henry Mayhew really, really didn't get along with his father. His father, Joshua Mayhew, got his start as a furniture builder, which, is a pretty blue-collar trade. But he had turned to law, particularly debt and insolvency. So he would come in when people were having trouble paying rent. He would sue them and then offer to buy the house to cancel their debt.
Do you mean mortgage, not rent?
Yes, mortgage.
Okay.
Sorry, mortgage.
Okay.
Yes.
This sounds a little bit like, I don't know, like private equity or something. Then he's like, and then I will give it back to you at a higher cost. No.
Yeah. Oh, well, a lot of developers now are doing that. They're like buying up these properties in the suburbs, flipping them, and then nobody can afford them. And they're rental properties now. And the only people that can afford them are people that can rent, and because nobody can afford to buy a house anymore.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's a remarkably similar thing happening. And, there were tons of people in London who needed places to live. So there was a huge group of people that were looking for tenements and for houses and things like that. And you could charge basically whatever you wanted for them.
And then, so he was buying residential properties as well, not just like businesses.
Yes. Yeah. Well, he bought
Okay.
both. Yeah, he bought both.
Yeah.
Henry Mayhew himself would later express his dislike of his father in a satirical poem published in the Comics Almanac, saying, "And having more cash than he needs, why, he lends to the poor all he can, and only takes 60%, like a highly respectable man."
His dad was literally Ebenezer Scrooge. It's kind of like,
He really
except
was.
I guess Ebenezer was a money lender, but not like he didn't buy the things. He was just a money lender.
Yeah.
Maybe he did buy, I forget.
I
Exactly.
I don't remember well enough.
But they were in a similar sort of business.
And, it's funny. I'm sure there were a lot of these sort of real estate moguls at the time who were doing this shit. It's interesting, though, because Henry Mayhew will go on to work alongside Charles Dickens. And so I don't know if like that seed was maybe planted by Henry Mayhew, or if it's just that was such a common person at the time that it was easy for Dickens to steal that archetype. But
It could be both.
sure.
Henry Mayhew's like, have I got a bad guy for you?
Yeah. Let me tell you about my
Seriously.
shitty father.
Wow.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
The conspiracy that the stories of Ebenezer Scrooge are Joshua Mayhew, Henry Mayhew's father.
Yeah.
Jacob Marley has the same
Oh.
name. Same, help me
JM,
out. Initials.
JM,
Has
yeah.
the same initials.
Oh, that's true.
So
That's-
that could be an Easter egg.
That's really interesting. Dickens was such a political writer that wouldn't really surprise me if there were little coded messages in there.
Oh, I love this.
Secondary podcast,
Yeah.
literary mysteries.
Yes.
And of course, this was a time where the wealth disparity in London was the elephant in the room. If the lower classes weren't struggling enough, Now, here you have a man, Joshua Mayhew, whose whole business was finding people close to bankruptcy and grinding them into complete financial ruin. Then he sold their livelihood and used the profits from their financial woes to fund his own personal success. Now, I don't know exactly why Henry Mayhew came to hate his father and his father's business so much, but I know that his distaste for the whole company drove him to writing. And so by the 1830s, he'd completely broken with his father and become a playwright under the pseudonym Ralph Rigmarole.
Oh my God. Okay.
His show, The Wandering Minstrel, packed houses, although he would later claim that he had been conned into receiving only £25 for the entire run of the show.
It's terrible.
Oh, man.
Now, no stranger to legal matters, Mayhew tried to sue the theater's owner, Gilbert Beckett, for embezzlement, and those charges fell apart. In response, Beckett sued Mayhew for assault because he claimed that Mayhew had actually physically assaulted him. That charge was also thrown out, although it bankrupted Beckett's theater.
Oh my God. Well, there's revenge for you, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know who was right and who was wrong in that.
Yeah.
But the whole affair left a very bad taste in Mayhew's mouth, and he left playwriting behind and turned to journalism, particularly satirical commentary.
Well, I gotta say, as a failed playwright myself, like crime, playwriting doesn't pay.
Yeah, the £25 is actually probably pretty good for a playwright.
Yeah, he should have taken that and run.
Well, he did, and then I think was mad that he didn't get the royalties.
Yeah. In 1841, Mayhew co-founded the satirical magazine Punch with Ebenezer Landels. Taking their name from Punch and Judy of the Mummers, the magazine was one of the first to use political cartoons in their mockery. And in fact, Punch is credited with coining the term cartoon in 1843.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Why did they call it that?
I don't know.
Do we know?
I don't
Tell
know,
us,
but-
Matt. Just be an encyclopedia.
Yeah, I don't know where that truly comes from. Mayhew would depart the magazine in 1846, but Punch itself ran until 2002.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's sad that it stopped.
Yeah.
Ah.
Following a series of unfortunate investments, including the founding and almost immediate failure of a railway newspaper, Mayhew found himself in bankruptcy in 1846. And he would spend the next 3 years dodging creditors, writing under pseudonyms, and bouncing around London. And the importance of his career trajectory cannot be overstated here. Because he came from a wealthy family, but it was wealth that was gained capitalizing on the losses of others. He didn't want to play in that game. He hated that game. He hated his father. And he considered all of that run by bullies. And so he strived to make his own fortune, but in the process, he ran into failure after failure after failure. And so in many ways, Mayhew was left seeing London from both sides. He'd been exposed to the aristocracy, to the middle class, but he's also been one of the people on whom they prey. And this outlook made him the perfect journalist to chronicle the struggles of London's poor. Which is why a newspaper, fittingly called the Morning Chronicle, tapped him to write a series on the cholera epidemic of the mid-19th century. Working for the Morning Chronicle put Mayhew in good company too, because that was where he ran into Charles Dickens, who was also writing for the newspaper. The paper also boasted, get this, UK's first salaried female journalist, a woman named Eliza Lynn Linton. And we do not nearly have the space for this, but if you want a really, really strange deep dive, check out her and how much she hated feminism despite being the first journalist in the UK.
Wow.
That's what they hired her. You gotta have
very
takes
well
on
could-
all sides.
Yeah,
guess
it very
so.
well could be.
Only acceptable way to hire a woman is if she's really against anyone else doing what she's doing.
That's right.
She's like a Instagram trad wife.
Yes.
She kind of was. Like, it was weird.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I think about some of the Republican diehard MAGA women right now. They're just
Yes.
like doing everything against their own interests and freedom. I'm like, what is wrong with you?
Well, I think of it, that, but I also think of it like these Instagram trad wives who very clearly are running their own businesses, making a lot of money, doing what they want, but they're telling other women like, oh, stay home, let your husband be the breadwinner, let him be in control of everything. I'm like, girl, you have 1 million followers on Instagram. I don't know what your husband does, but you're probably making more money than him.
Yeah, for
like,
real.
or similarly, like Phyllis Schlafly, that woman in the 80s who was all about like success. She was all about and then successfully made it so that the Equal Rights Amendment didn't get passed. Same thing, like she was the head of nonprofits. She's going around speaking on TV all the time, like doing all this stuff. But her whole thing is like, women shouldn't be in the workplace. Women should be home taking care of their kids. It's like, well, you're not.
The cognitive dissonance is so baffling to me.
Yeah.
I guess that's the definition of cognitive dissonance. It just doesn't make any fucking sense. But like, this is just like that all the time. We're seeing it all the time.
Yeah. Elizabeth Lenton, the first of a kind.
Yep. Such an inspiration.
Hey, why should men only be miserable in their jobs? I think women should have the opportunity to be at miserable jobs too.
That's right.
Women should also have the opportunity to be complete hypocrites.
Yep. Yep.
But back to Mayhew.
Yes.
So, on assignment from the Morning Chronicle, he traveled to Bermondsey, which is the southern end of the Thames. And that he would actually coin as the cholera district due to the overwhelming cases of cholera in the region, which makes sense. It's downstream from this river that, like we talked about last time, they're dumping all of their waste into. Of course, that's where the cholera ends up. Now, Mayhew didn't believe that the water was the cause of the cholera. This is still a little before that theory came to fruition. He believed that it was vapors or miasma. Once he arrived in Bermondsey, he was struck by the staggeringly foul conditions of the residents in these slums. He described the suffering in excruciating detail, saying, "The inhabitants themselves show in their faces the poisonous influence of the mephitic air they breathe." That's such a great word, mephitic. Either their skins are white like parchment, telling of impaired digestion, languid circulation, and the coldness of the skin particular to the person suffering from chronic poisoning. Or else their cheeks are flushed hectically, and their eyes are glassy, showing wasting fever and general decline of body functions. He saw dead bodies just in the streets. He saw the dead body of a young girl. He interviewed residents who explained they had no idea how sick they were. They couldn't go to the doctor. They couldn't afford to go to the doctor. So they knew they were sick, but they didn't know of what or how bad. They didn't know how long they had to live. And probably most disturbing to him, he saw house after business with bills of sale on them, calling them, quote, valuable real estate. The same kind of scheme his father was playing.
I also want to just say, give him a little bit of credit for the fact that if he thought that it was the air that was making them sick, he was putting himself in harm's way by wanting to go there and talk to people and get it written up in the papers. Because if you know it's the water, you're like, fine, I'm just not going to drink the water.
Right.
But if you think it's the air, like, you can't avoid that. You just have to go and do it and then be like, I hope I don't get sick.
Yeah. Yeah, and show up and put, your
point.
cloth over your mouth or something like that and just try not to breathe it in. Yeah.
Right.
In September of 1849, the Chronicle published Mayhew's expose under the title A Visit to the Cholera Districts of Bermondsey. Still living in fear of his creditors, Mayhew had it published anonymously. But copies flew off the shelves. Mayhew has this very candid writing style that made the readers feel like they were actually there in the slums with him. I think his experience in satire really helped. Not to say that the article itself was satirical, but because stylistically, EJ, you and I talk about this all the time, comedy and horror are much closer than they seem. Beyond personal accounts, Mayhew also included statistical data and noted that of the 12,000 recorded cases of cholera during the epidemic, half of them were in this district.
That's a wild statistic.
Yeah.
Statistic.
The success of a visit to the cholera districts prompted the paper to extend Mayhew's contract and promote him to special correspondent. Over the next 2 years, he scoured the back alleys of London and conducted interviews and toured the worst parts of the city. During a time where the class system was beginning to change, break down, when the middle class was rising up to usurp the standing aristocracy and the poor were literally dying in the streets, Henry Mayhew became the one who could show you just how bad things were. Between 1850 and 1851, London, Labor, and the Poor was published in 3 volumes. Now, with this, he attempted to paint as complex a picture as possible, interviewing everybody. So he interviewed beggars, market vendors, sex workers, factory workers, even the unemployed. He described jobs like rat catchers, street sweeps, mudlarks. You know what a mudlark is?
I've heard of it, but I don't know.
You tell. I saw it in my reading, but I don't really know.
They were people who dug for valuables along the banks of the River Thames.
Not the same as a tosher?
No, they're different.
Okay.
They're different. So the toshers, who we're going to talk about in a sec, they go into the sewers. The mudlarks wait until the tide goes out and then walk. And if you may recall from our last episode, when the tide goes out, all of that waste that was in the Thames is just left on the banks. So they're walking. Calling it mud is very generous, I
Very
think.
nice. It's very British.
Yeah.
I would probably be a mudlark. Not because I like to walk through shit, but because I love to find treasure. And like beachcombers, except it's like shittier.
Yeah.
So I would be, I'd be
Literally?
down though. Yeah, like
Yeah,
literally.
shit combers.
Shit combers. I'd be down though. It kind of takes the romanticism of beachcombing. It's like the inverse of the romanticism of beachcombing. But
Yeah.
it still sounds good.
Yeah.
EJ's in retirement. EJ's just going to be a beachcomber.
Oh, I will. I will. Just get me a metal detector, guys. That'd be a great present.
Filing that away.
Thanks, Katie.
And Mayhew, he loves statistics too, right? So he also, he detailed their jobs, sure, but he also charted their salaries. And then he talked about their philosophies, their outlooks, their personalities. And you had statistical data beside all of it that you could suddenly see like, oh, this is how much a banker makes as compared to the mudlark.
Man, good for him. And he's humanizing them. It's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
It's so good. I also think too, it's because 2 things are happening there. One, you start to think like for the people that are doing jobs that people are appreciative of, I'm assuming like a rat catcher, for example, something that the upper classes probably either employed or appreciate the fact that they're making there be less rats in the city. A rat catcher doesn't make enough for how much I value their work now that I come to think about it. Or you think about like someone shouldn't have to be mudlarking to make money. So it's like either one of those things. It's doing both.
Yeah. It's fucking crazy that these were jobs, right? Like rat catcher, I do kind of understand. There were rats. You want to catch them, fine. But yeah, these people were essentially just looking for lost valuables. And that's the
that
toshers.
They could pawn.
Yeah. That they could pawn.
Rat catcher, I just read that as like early exterminator. Like
Yes.
they were
That's
what they were.
exterminators, basically. But
Yep.
yeah.
And they were mostly employed by the upper classes because the lower classes wouldn't be able to afford a rat catcher. They just lived with rats.
And it's England, so they have a fun name for it, rat catcher.
Right.
And not exterminator.
Yeah. So one of the most fascinating characters that Henry Mayhew described was the tosher. And through the toshers, we will see this become a cryptid story. Now, as we talked about, the origins of Tosh is nonsense, trash, something like that. But by Victorian times, the word tosheroon was being used to refer to a 5-shilling coin. And that's exactly what the toshers were looking for. In the mid-19th century, along with the other awful jobs that were available to London's lower classes, one of the worst was roaming through the sewers looking for lost valuables. And I'm not saying that you were commissioned. It's not like, oh my God, I dropped my watch down the sewer. Can you please go get it? You're just down there on the chance that you might find something. These people were called toshers, and they risked their safety, health, and cleanliness to search through the filth under London's streets in hopes of finding valuables.
So my question is, when they got the valuables, I was just assuming that they were like, cool, this is for me. I'm going to go to a pawn shop and get money for this. But were they ever sort of like, I don't know. I assume that sometimes people would lose something and be like, we have a reward for X thing being returned. I mean, was that a thing? We don't know. We probably don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure we know that. So it's funny because we'll talk in a little while, but toshers were quickly outlawed because the work was so insanely dangerous. And so I'm not sure that any of that would have had to be done off the books, I would think. So I don't know that we have any record of that.
Got it. Okay, no, that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, toshers armed themselves with a hoe, and they dug through the sewers looking for scrap metal, which they could resell. You know, they pawned. If you found a watch or something, you could sell it at a pawn shop. But also, you know, if you just found like an iron hook or something like that, you could take that to a blacksmith. They could melt that down, and that had intrinsic value as well. Working very long hours underground by lamplight in the foulest conditions possible, the tosher is one of the most disgusting jobs in human history. They wore these
I just want to say, I'm not sure if that's more or less disgusting than the wheelbarrow guys that had to empty the cesspits. Because they're having to shovel that into the wheelbarrow. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just want to put that out there. I think that is a pretty gross job too.
That is probably worse. Yeah.
I do. Yeah, you know, you bring up a good point where I feel like the gong farmer, that's what they were called. The gong farmer was more disgusting, while the toshers were more dangerous, more terrifying day to day. Because you know, gong farmer, it's really gross, but you're probably safe most of the time. Toshers were in danger pretty much all the time. They wore these long coats with big pockets so they could just stuff things into their pockets. They wore an apron that protected themselves from the worst of the sludge that they were exposed to. And then they had miniature kerosene lanterns, because we don't have electric lights, remember? So miniature kerosene lanterns hanging around their necks that they could aim forward to see where they were going or downward to investigate the floor below them.
Oh no, that's how you end up catching on fire and dying.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All the gases that's down there too? That must happen pretty quick. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So their sewer hoe that they carried with them served a dual purpose. Obviously digging for loot, right? But sometimes you would fall or you would sink in an area that might be deeper than you anticipated because, you know, all of this human waste, all of this animal waste, all of this shit became essentially like quicksand. You're not moving through clean water. So it's like mud, right? And you would, as a tosher, inevitably find yourself stuck every now and then. And hopefully you could hook that hoe onto something solid and heave yourself to safety
Oh my God.
and not sink into the muck down there. To make everything even more horrible, when we first started this series, we talked about the Cloaca Maxima and how, man, you would sail ships into this, right? It's huge. That's like kind of the Ninja Turtle sewers that we think about, right? Most of London's sewer tunnels were just over 3 feet wide, which means that most of the time the toshers were crawling on their hands and knees.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought it was really a large space.
You do, right?
Yeah.
It's not.
That even if they were crouching, that they were like, and by crouching,
Right.
I sort of mean like ducking your head, that you were walking. But crawling?
Yeah.
God, it must have smelled so bad in that confined space.
Yeah. And your face is kind of right there, too. Yeah. Now, the other thing about London's sewer systems is that they were originally designed to keep excess water from like rain overflow and direct it away from the streets, right? But what that means is that the water level in the sewers was very subject to overflowing from rainstorms. It was also subject to overflowing from the tides of the Thames. And so a tosher's work could only really be done at low tide. We talked last time about how the Thames actually has tides, right?
What you just said made me worry about flash flooding. Like, is that something that would happen down in the sewers?
Yeah, so if they found themselves lost and the tide came in, they could become trapped and they could drown. If a rainstorm broke out while you were down there, the runoff might make sections inaccessible and it might block your exits. Or worse even, it could flood the tunnels and it could knock you off your feet and drag you somewhere into that labyrinth down there that you had never been before and you had no idea how to get out.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's terrifying. I'm I'm slightly claustrophobic. So the idea that like you would just be lost down there in like a 3-foot tunnel, I am like, my whole body is like tensing up right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not like crazy claustrophobic, but I definitely don't want to be doing that.
No, exactly. I'm not like crazy claustrophobic, but that idea, no, thank you.
Yeah. And remember, we talked last time about how there were sections of the bricks that were so eroded that when they revitalized the sewers, they were able to actually scrape them out with a spoon like gingerbread. So if a tosher found themselves in a particularly damaged tunnel, it might collapse on them. And then they would be entombed in the sewers. And EJ, you hit on this. Chemically, it's very dangerous too. So beyond the noxious odors, you have pockets of methane gas that could cause the tosher's lantern to explode, dousing them in kerosene. And enduring all of this work, all of the work, all of the stresses, the hazards, what did they find?
Probably nothing worth it. Not worth it.
I know. I'm like, what is the average hourly salary of a tosher?
Yeah.
I need to know now.
Yeah.
They made about 6 shillings a day, or about the modern equivalent of 50 pounds per day. The more experienced ones would go on to lead smaller crews and become experts, kind of knowing where they could go to look for loot.
Wait, so the equivalent of 50 pounds a day. And then I imagine the toshers that were leading small crews, it wasn't a Ponzi scheme, but like similarly to those kind of like multi-level marketing or just normal job. Maybe I should more a normal job. Like if you're leading a team, you're kind of probably taking some of what they're earning. I would
absolutely.
imagine.
Yeah. But I mean, think about it. If you're a junior level tosher, if you're just trying to break into the toshing workforce, you don't want to just wander around down there, because not only is it insanely dangerous, but also you don't really know where you're going, you know? The more experienced toshers would know where to go in the sewers and where to look for valuables, knowing like, okay, when the water flows, it goes this way, and so it's most likely to be over here, right?
Mm-hmm. Or like these sewers over here are where all of the like rich people stuff, or like it's down, it ends up being downstream from this iron factory. So there's lots of like random bits and stuff that get caught up in this section.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, you want somebody who can kind of direct you there and also say, don't go down there because the floor is really slippery, or whatever.
I do want to imagine this, though, as a Mary Kay like introduction where like, the head tosher shows up at somebody's house and they have all their tools out and they're like, you can have all these tools. They're free. Join me. You get a 10% commission to start. But if you're a real rock star, you can work your way up to 30%. And you could have everything that I have. Like I have my own outhouse and I have my own hat. I don't have to share my hat with 10 other people. It's my hat. So
and then you can
me.
have your own crew as well. And
yes.
One day you can have your own crew.
Yep. You can have your own pair of underpants. That's just yours.
What they don't tell you is it took them 20 years to learn the sewers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And how fucking disgusting it is.
Uh-huh.
This is, I want to read this excerpt because this is what Mayhew writes that they found. So obviously, you're going to find some valuables down there, but Mayhew writes that they found, quote, dead dogs, cats, kittens, and rats, offal from slaughterhouses, sometimes even including the entrails of animals, street pavement dirt of every variety, vegetable refuse, stable dung, that's horse shit, the refuse of pigsties, pig shit, night soil, human shit, ashes, rotten mortar, and rubbish of different kinds.
Night soil is the word for human shit.
Night soil.
I love that. I can't.
am like,
wow. Night soil.
we got to bring that back.
We do. You're such a pile of night soil, Matt. And you're a sewer hoe.
Also, the idea of, you don't think about, but just the dirt and the he talks about how there's mortar, there's pavement dirt, there's ash, because everybody was burning wood, and so they were dumping the ashes from their sewers down, or from their wood stoves and their fireplaces down into the sewers too. Like, that's something I didn't really think about. There weren't street trash cans. They didn't have garbage collection. The sewer was garbage collection.
I mean, people were probably burying their garbage in their backyards. I mean, that's one thing they did, or burning it. People burned their garbage a lot more back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if you're just walking around on the street and you have, like, I don't know, I'm thinking like you're eating an apple and you finish your apple core, there's no trash can. You're just throwing it into the sewer.
Yep.
You're not like carrying that home with you and then burning it.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're much better now. Instead, we just concentrate the trash in the Pacific Ocean and in the ground.
Or we send
Much
it to other countries where we don't have to look at it.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. We're so much
Soon,
better.
I mean, soon we're going to shoot it into space. Then the aliens have to deal with it.
God. Don't remind me.
Yeah.
Due to all of these conditions that we have talked about, and particularly the dangerous nature of it, toshing was officially outlawed in 1840. Anyone caught illegally entering the sewers would be punished, and a bounty of 5 shillings was offered to anyone who turned in a tosher to the authorities. But, of course, that didn't stop toshing. All that it did was make it into a secret clandestine business. So, post-1840, toshers started working exclusively at night, sneaking into the sewers through secret entryways. And now, not only were they risking their lives, but they were risking imprisonment as well.
Oh my gosh. And so when Peter Peter. Hi,
Ah,
John.
you did it.
Ah, see?
When Henry Mayhew interviewed toshers then, this was like almost a decade after they had been outlawed.
Right. And they were still very, very active. One tosher said to him, and I will not insult our British listeners by trying to do this in the traditional British accent, but you can hear it through the words that he captured here. They won't let us work the shores as there's a little danger. They fears how we'll get suffocated, at least they tells us so. But they don't care if we get starved. No, they doesn't mind no think about that. They didn't have a choice. There weren't really jobs. This is what they could do to make money. In fact, the toshers, in the grand scheme of lower class British jobs, the toshers did pretty okay for themselves. Mayhew found that they often earned more money than the local artisans.
Also, I would imagine, I mean, I don't know the details of all these different jobs, so could be really off the mark here, but I would imagine there's a little bit of freedom. Like you're your own boss in a way that you might not be in some of these other jobs.
Absolutely. You can imagine how stories and legends would build among these toshers as they wander through these tunnels in darkness. One man described the labyrinth saying, "You can go a long ways in the sewers if you like. I don't know how far. I was never at the end of them myself, for a cove can't stop in longer than 6 or 7 hours because of the tide. You must be out before that's up." Remember the mythological elements we've talked about before. It's hard not to see this shadow city reflected in the Tosher's experience. In a lot of ways, they were liaisons of sorts between the light of the modern London and the darkness of this disgusting underworld. They are roaming through this man-made labyrinth, toiling in the dark in this doppelganger version of the world. They claim to see strange things down there. Packs of rats. We expect that, right? And most toshers couldn't finish their shift without risking a couple rat bites. But allegedly, these swarms of rats could number in the thousands, and they would clog the sewer tunnels with their bodies.
I think that that's real because
I kind of think that's real too.
in New York, I forget what they're called when all the rats, like a rat's nest, I think it doesn't refer to like a nest of baby rats. It refers to like when the rats all tangle together and it's like they're like a mob. It's like a mob of rats and they're all like connected to each other. And that is a real thing that actually happens. And like I personally, thank goodness, have never experienced this, but I've had friends experience in New York, like so many rats like coming out of nowhere and just like running across the street, like in front of them or toward them. So in 1800s London, there's probably even more rats.
Any man or crew unlucky enough to come across one of these packs of rats, they said that you could be overrun and devoured. As Mayhew says, in a few days afterwards, their skeletons would be discovered picked to the very bones. You remember the pig that escaped the butcher that we talked about last time? According to the Toshers, her offspring was still down there. Mayhew says, "There's a strange tale in existence among the shore workers of a race of wild hogs inhabiting the sewers in the neighborhood of Hampstead. As the story runs, a sow and young by some accident got down into the sewer opening and, wandering away from the spot, littered and reared her offspring in the drain, feeding them on offal and garbage washed into constantly. Here, it is alleged, the breed multiplied exceedingly and have become almost as ferocious as they are numerous."
Well, I gotta say, of course it happened in Hampstead.
Because of ham.
Because of ham.
So what do you think? Do you think it's possible that a subterranean race of pigs thrived in London's sewer system?
No, here's why. And I say this for actually a biological reason. And I'm not a biologist, so I could be wrong. But pigs are mammals. They need sunlight. I don't think they could just be in the dark forever.
They're not the most implausible cryptid that we've talked about, for sure. But I didn't find much evidence, real world evidence of sewer swine. The only other report I found came from a 1859 article in the Daily Telegraph that said, "It has been said that Hampstead sewers shelter a monstrous breed of black swine which have propagated and run wild among the slimy feculents, and whose ferocious snouts will one day uproot Highgate Archway, while they make Holloway intolerable with their grunting."
It's beautiful. I think that it's possible that there could be a pig here and there, in the way that I think there's probably a dog here and there down there as well. And I think that they are covered, whatever goes down there gets covered in what is down there. And so it looks like the environment that it's in. So I think things can tend to look different than what they would normally look out in nature just because of the environment.
Also, that article that I just quoted from was written by none other than Charles Dickens.
That was beautiful.
Now,
Yeah.
you'll
Maybe
remember.
he heard it from Henry Mayhew.
So Dickens was
Yes.
working at the Morning Chronicle when Henry Mayhew was writing all of this. So it is very likely that Dickens was simply riffing on the fables that Mayhew wrote down. But Dickens, in his Dickensian way, Dickensian way, uses the image of sewer swine also as an allegory for fears of urbanization. At their core, the common pigs were wild animals that had become domesticated or at least contained in modern London. But they were still wild animals that were brought in. Okay, now they have a place, they're contained. But introducing them into this undercity, this mysterious new sewer system, caused them to allegedly revert back to their bestial nature. And now it allows them to overrun modernity and drag London back into these foul, unclean times. In this context, that mirror world is not just the underworld, it's actually a corrupting force that could annihilate the foundations of this modern life that is starting to come about in London. It's worth noting that despite the extensive sewer renovations that Joseph Bazalgette spearheaded, construction crews never came across dens of feral hogs. And all throughout the London in the 19th century, the residents of Hampstead Heath never heard grunting from their sewer grates. But even more outlandish than the pigs was the tale of another creature, the queen rat. I love this one. Toshers, they're going about their subterranean work, and a lot of them felt like they were being watched. Some even described it as an unseen presence that followed them throughout their shift down there. But occasionally that presence would continue to stalk them even after they'd left the sewers and traveled home or to the pub. One tosher, named Jerry Sweetley, claimed that he had an encounter with the presence. According to him, he'd been going about his work that day and he felt this, like someone was watching him. And then he felt it all the way after he left the sewers until he was walking by a nearby warehouse. And so at this warehouse, he tried to confront the presence, only to turn around and find himself standing before a beautiful woman. Now, according to his account in Lore of the Land, he and the woman shared a romantic tryst in the warehouse. But in the middle of the act, she was so consumed with passion that she bit him. And not just like a little love bite, but a serious, deep wound drawing blood. So Sweetley shoved her away, and the woman fled into the darkness. And as he inspected the wound, he heard her voice say to him, "You'll get your luck, Tosher, but you haven't done paying me for it yet." Sweetley searched the darkness for the voice, but he couldn't see the figure of the woman. Instead, he saw a giant rat scuttle across the rafters of the warehouse. And to his horror, he realized that his late night fling wasn't with a human at all, but with a shapeshifter who would later be called the Queen Rat.
Okay, here's what I think happened.
Yeah,
If this is at all true,
sure.
I think he was walking back from his job, saw a woman of the night, and didn't think it was a woman of the night, and agreed to a tryst that he would have to pay for, did his thing with her. Maybe she did bite him a little too hard, whatever. He freaked out. She said, well, you have to pay. And he said, I'm not paying you. I thought this was just, a thing that people do. We're two adults. And then she said, well, you will pay. And then he got freaked out. And then he saw a real rat. And so he just put the story together.
I was thinking something along those lines. Or maybe she bit him because it was part of part of him not paying her. I also think, maybe something else happened. Maybe he did see a beautiful woman, but she wasn't a lady of the night and she wasn't interested in having sex with him. But then somehow she was.
Yeah, so
I don't
she
know.
bit him to get away
So
from
she bit him. I don't know.
Well-
She was like, you'll get your luck, Tosher, or something. I don't know. And then he saw a real rat. I agree with that.
Well, the story goes that he tended to the bite and it healed fine, but he found that after that, the rats in the sewers avoided him. And he said it was because the queen had left her mark on him and he was now immune to rat attacks. But that protection came with a cost because allegedly he hadn't been able to satisfy the carnal urges of the queen rat, right? So the rest of his life was fraught with misfortune. His first wife died in childbirth. His second fell into the Thames and was crushed by a barge. And while not exactly a curse, all of his children had heterochromia, one blue eye and one gray eye. And that gray eye, they said, was the color of the Thames.
I think that's so cool.
Allegedly, his children also had incredible hearing and were very strong swimmers, as if they were born in the water.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
The rumor goes that had he been able to actually satisfy the queen rat, she would have blessed him with luck. Because the Toshers believed that the queen rat would continue to follow them underground and lead them to hidden caches of lost valuables in, the secret areas of the sewers.
Here's the thing, though. It's like, does what happened to him have to happen to you in order for the queen rat to bless you? Why aren't there more stories of people being like, oh, I slept with the queen rat, so now I have luck?
That is what you had to do. Yeah. You had to satisfy the queen rat sexually, and then you would have the Tosher's luck. Maybe Katie. Maybe
Who are they running? How are they running into? I love when I get caught in the wheel of trying to make sense of this thing that's definitely 100% not real, and I'm just like, but wait, are all of them? Who do they think they're having sex with then? What's happening? Nothing. None of it is happening.
Yeah. None of this is real.
I appreciate that, though, Katie.
I do get caught in it. I was
also-
like,
yeah.
wait, but then who are they sleeping with? Are they sleeping with prostitutes and they think it's the queen rat? Are they putting this on these other people? And I'm just like, oh my God, it's not happening.
I know. It's why
It's how we build mythology, though.
Yeah.
You have the work of the Toshers. They're in darkness, plagued by the real fear of real rat attacks, hunting for scraps of metal left by the topsiders, right? And so they have transformed the worst parts of their work into the thing that can bring them success in almost a survival mechanism of mythology. Researcher David Castleton compares the lore of the queen rat to that of the knockers of Cornish mining. Now, knockers were these little imps or goblins that allegedly lived underground in caves and inside mines. And when miners started digging for ore veins, the knockers would torment them. They would, steal their tools. They would sabotage their work. So if you came in one morning and found a cart that you left was tipped over, that was a knocker that did that. They might blow out your candles, they might throw rocks at you, other nuisances, right? But they also looked out for the miners too. They got their name from the knocks they would make on support timbers. So according to the legend, if you heard a knocker knocking, it was time to get out of the mine because the mine shaft was about to collapse. And, it's not hard to see the origin of that real-life mythology. Timber supports, the crack under pressure, creating a knocking sound that probably reverberates throughout the mine. So that's a sign to get the fuck out of the mine before you get buried alive. And then these miners turn this into, but if you follow the knockers, they will lead you to the best ore veins and the richest strikes. They're this balance. They'll torment you, but they'll also reward you for your dangerous and difficult work. The queen rat is a similar storytelling thread. We're afraid of rats, and that gets turned into a warding protector that can lead you to fortune, shield you from harm. The pigs? Probably not so much. There is no record of the lore of sewer swine that they bring good fortune to the toshers. So why do you think these stories of the pigs came about?
Is pig kind of like a demonic thing?
It can be. Yeah, it can be.
I wonder if it's like a thing to say, like, there are bad things down there. It's like hell. Don't go down there.
My guess is you're probably right.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I think toshers' work is illegal, so it has to be secret. They work in small groups, and all of those groups have to be quiet. And they also, they're kind of pitted against each other, too. You are all looking for the same thing, really. So they might even have their own territory down there. I think a good way to protect your profitable area is to tell a story about how dangerous it is. You say, that section down there, that's overrun with feral hogs. You don't want to go down there. What a great way to keep others out of your corner that is profitable, right? Mm-hmm. That's my suspicion about the pigs, that they were deterrents.
I'm looking up the word you used before was like mephitis, I think, or mephitic.
Mephitic, yeah.
Is it okay? Which has to do with skunks, I think.
It's
noxious vapor.
Yeah, noxious vapor. Yeah.
But I was trying to see if it's connected at all to like Mephistopheles, and I need more time to probably figure that out. But it makes me think though about like the bowels of hell and in like Dante's Inferno and everything underground and everything bad is down there. And I just wonder if there is some like they're turning it into like a moral battleground almost. Like to be poor almost is like it's like immoral. Like it, and I think a lot of not to make it political, but there was a time when it was better to be poor. Like it was like it's harder for a rich man to get to heaven as to put a camel through the eye of a needle. And now we live in this world where but to be poor is bad, to be rich is exalted. And I wonder if in England with like the aristocracy, I wonder if there was like a similar idea where it was like the poor were more of a representation of all of the things that are bad, and aristocracy was more like exalted. I don't know. I'm kind of like going down my own little rabbit hole of conspiracy theory and connections that might not exist, but that's kind of what I'm thinking though.
No, I think you've hit on something pretty substantial there. This idea of the sewers and the lower class being this dirty, disgusting, almost demonic type of thing. I think back to Dickens again, and the way Dickens talked about how the hogs are going to uproot Highgate Arch, this beautiful section of London, how it's going to force its way in and corrupt that beauty, that grandeur, that luxury. when we see this take over. It is that light and darkness, good and evil type of conflict in rich and poor, or at least haves and have-nots.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. As terrifying as encountering a sewer pig must be, there is another sewer monster, even more dangerous. Now that's on the other side of the Atlantic, and we will talk about them in our final episode.
Yay!
Leaving the shitty sewers of London.
Yes,
Aw,
and
miss
headed
them.
for the shitty sewers of New York City. The little teaser for next time.
Cue the Sinatra. Dun, 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 dun.
Save it for
Greatest
next
city
time.
in the world.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, save it for next time.
Well, I do have a parting poem.
Yes,
Well-
please.
Well, this is a continuation of Dirty Father Thames by William Newman. All right. Just two verses here. All beside thy sludgy waters, all beside thy reeking ooze, Christian folks inhale Mephitis, which thy bubbly bosom brews. All her foul abominations into thee the city throws, these pollutions ever churning, to and fro thy current flows.
Oh, so gross.
Yeah.
I
Disgusting.
love this poem.
It's great, and there's more to come. 2 more verses next time. Can you handle the anticipation? I don't think you can.
I am on the edge
I
of my
can.
seat.
I can't.
Katie's like, yeah, I'm fine.
No, I meant to say I can't, but it was Freudian slip.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this twisting journey through the London sewers. And yeah, if you're feeling generous, head over to slayingmonsterspodcast.com, click on the support us button at the top of the page. We also have our merch there. And until next time, be safe out there.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Slaying Monsters, the 40 in History podcast. If you like the podcast, there's a couple ways you can show your support. You can tell your friends, you can leave us a rating and review on your podcast platform, or you can head over to slayingmonsterspodcast.com and click on the Support Us button to leave a donation. For questions, suggestions, and other feedback, reach out to us, slayingmonsterspodcast@gmail.com, and stay up to date by following us on socials at Slaying Monsters Podcast. Your support helps us grow, and we are truly grateful to have our listeners and community.